That note is not an Ice Age recording. It is a modern constructed sound, one cautious guess at what a hollow tube with finger holes can do. The real sound disappeared more than 35,000 years ago, probably before the last breath had finished fogging the cave air. Now imagine you are standing beside that fire. Outside, the Swabian Jura is cold, food takes work, and every tool begins as stone, bone, wood, hide, or a problem. Someone lifts a pale tube made from a vulture's wing bone. They breathe across one end. The air catches. A tone fills the limestone chamber, and every face turns toward it. Then it stops. The instrument is still there, but the sound is gone, so if a few possible notes can return, what did the first music actually sound like? The answer begins in two caves, passes through a bird, gets considerably more complicated when a mammoth enters the workshop, and ends with something archaeology cannot dig up: a vanished song. The caves are Hohle Fels and Geißenklösterle in the Ache Valley of southern Germany. Their Aurignacian layers preserve worked bone, ivory, ornaments, figurative art, and fragments of wind instruments. One famous Hohle Fels find was made from the radius of a griffin vulture. The surviving tube is about 22 centimeters long and has 5 carefully worked finger holes. How can anyone tell that a broken bird bone was an instrument rather than lunch? The holes are shaped and placed, the pieces fit a deliberate form, and one end was worked for blowing. It came from an archaeological world where other instrument fragments have also appeared. This is not one suspicious hole with an ambitious press release. It is a pattern of manufacture. The dates need care. Archaeologists date layers and associated material, not a tiny label tied to the flute saying, "Finished Tuesday." Hohle Fels places the vulture-bone instrument more than 35,000 years ago. Improved dating suggests the early Aurignacian sequence at Geißenklösterle began roughly 42.5 to 43,000 years ago. These are among the oldest securely identified instruments known today. Among the oldest known is not the same as first. Archaeology's lost property box has a very strict bone and ivory policy. Singing leaves no fossil. Clapping is even less cooperative. Wood rots, reeds vanish, skin drums disappear. People could have made music long before these flutes without leaving anything recognizable today. The caves reveal when some instruments existed. They do not reveal when music began. For the maker, the vulture bone offered one enormous convenience: it was already hollow. The bird supplied the plumbing. That did not make the rest easy. The bone had to be cleaned without shattering, then shaped, thinned, and pierced. The holes had to work. The blowing edge had to turn breath into stable vibration. One late mistake could transform hours of work into educational fragments. Why spend scarce time making something so fragile? The maker cannot answer, and the artifact does not carry a purpose, but it shows that controlled sound was worth planning, material, and skill. That conclusion grows stronger when the same communities chose a material with none of the bird's helpful anatomy: mammoth-ivory. Ivory is solid. A craftsperson had to shape a stave, split it into matching halves, hollow both interiors, fit and seal the seam, bind the tube, and add holes and a blowing edge. Experiments show this can work. They do not reveal the exact ancient recipe because the sealants and bindings did not survive. The mammoth supplied a project. The seam also had to hold. An air leak was not an artistic choice. The entire instrument depended on controlling pressure inside a hand-sized tube. A shifted half, leaking joint, or misplaced hole changed the result. So why make an ivory version when bird bone already solved the hollow tube problem? Perhaps ivory offered different dimensions, durability, status, sound, or simply a material a skilled maker wanted to master. Several answers are possible. None is preserved as a note from the workshop. What survives is the commitment itself. Once the tube works, its holes change the effective length of the vibrating air column. Cover one, uncover another, and the pitch moves. Different breath can shift the register. Tube length, hole size, lip position, and a missing end change the result again. Do 5 holes reveal a prehistoric scale? They offer options, not a playlist. Researchers have built several plausible reconstructions of the Geißenklösterle ivory instrument. Some fingerings produced fairly close notes, while others spread farther apart, and long, narrow versions made certain low fundamentals difficult. The disagreement is useful. Archaeology rarely gets this polite. Each replica shows one possibility while exposing choices the artifact no longer preserves. Can an exact replica bring the tune back? There is no exact replica when the original length, missing pieces, blowing method, and playing habits remain uncertain. A reconstruction can demonstrate playable tones, overblowing, pitch bends, and different fingerings. It cannot recover a melody, tempo, rhythm, scale system, or the way an Aurignacian musician shaped a phrase. That boundary matters because a modern player can perform a modern tune on a plausible reconstruction, but the performance belongs to the modern player. It is evidence about capability, not a message from prehistory. The harder question is why anyone wanted these sounds. Music might have supported movement, play, courtship, teaching, memory, ceremony, coordination, or simple pleasure. Those are plausible uses, not a list recovered from Hohle Fels. One flute cannot reveal which purpose mattered on one night. What it can show is a social effect that requires no invented ritual. Someone made the instrument, someone learned to produce controlled tones, and other people could hear them. A sound can gather attention without leaving a photograph of the gathering. This is where the object becomes wonderfully impractical. The maker built something whose product immediately escaped. A scraper leaves a scraped hide. A spear leaves meat if the day goes well. A flute leaves air moving through a cave, and then even that is gone. Yet people made instruments in more than one material and at more than one site. That does not prove professional musicians or concerts. It does make accidental noise a poor explanation for careful holes, shaped ends, fitted halves, and repeated technical choices. Are these flutes the beginning of music? No, they are a surviving chapter from a story that almost certainly had earlier pages made of breath, hands, feet, wood, reeds, and skin. Those possibilities cannot be dated simply because they would have been easy to lose. Preservation bias gives archaeology a floor, not an opening night. Return to the cave. The fire is lower now. The craftsperson raises the vulture-bone tube again. One finger lifts. A modern reconstruction might make the pitch rise. Another instrument with a slightly different length or blowing edge might answer differently. A few possible notes can be measured. The melody cannot. So what did the first music sound like? There is no honest playback, only a range of lost human choices around pitch, rhythm, voice, movement, and meaning. The oldest surviving flutes prove that people in the Ice Age engineered breath into controlled sound. They do not preserve the song. One final constructed tone can enter the chamber. Then it should stop before pretending to become a melody. The instrument survived. The performance did not wait to be found.
Thanks for watching this video. Don't forget to subscribe